right, well, welcome. I don't know if we have anyone logged in just yet. I'll wait for a moment and see if we do, but this is Minnesota Ag in the Classroom. We are doing our first Facebook Live virtual field trip, and we're out at Kvistad Farm in Wood Lake, Minnesota. We're here with Paul, and he is the turkey, he raises turkeys here. So we'll give it just a couple more seconds and wait for a few more people to log in. We're really glad that you have chosen or had time today to join us. If you have logged in and you can hear me right now, we'd love it if you would comment in the comment section what your class is or your school, your grade, just so we can say hello to you and see who is logging in with us today. I'm hoping I'll be able to see some of that down here and say hello to you. Oh, there we go. I can see a few things. So it looks like we're getting a few more viewers on. It's exactly 10:01. We like to be on time here, Minnesota Ag in the Classroom. Can't see any comments yet. Does anyone let us know that they are viewing so we can say hello to these different classes that might be joining us? We might have some from Minnesota. We had a few other states that might be joining us. If you're joining us from a non-Minnesota state, you might not have the same kind of weather that we have here today. And if you viewed our preview video, this looks very different than it did last week. Very, very different. I'm a little cold, but that's okay. So I guess we'll go ahead and get started. So I'm going to introduce Paul. He is, we're here on his family farm. So Paul, can you share with us a little bit about what we're seeing here, what you do here?
Yeah, again, my name is Paul Kvistad. I'm a fourth generation farmer and a second generation turkey farmer. I farm here with my wife, Jamie. We farm about 1,300 acres of corn and soybeans, and each year we raise about 200,000 turkeys on this farm. We started raising turkeys in 1970, my dad did, and I took the business over from my dad since 1970, and we've had turkeys on this farm continuously for 46 years.
Wow, that's great. Again, if you are just tuning in with us, and I see we have a few new people joining, we're Minnesota Agriculture in the Classroom. We're out in Wood Lake, Minnesota at the Kvistad Turkey Farm. I'm doing really hard trying to get your last name correct. So we're glad you've joined us. We're going to do a quick pan again so you can see what we're looking at as we wait for a few more viewers. So Paul, you know, we've already talked about this looks a lot different than when we were here last week. So as the one raising the turkeys here, what does this kind of weather, how does it change your routine, or how does this impact you and your farm?
Well, we grow turkeys year-round on our farm. Sure. And in Minnesota. So weather like this, our buildings protect the turkeys from weather like this, because you and I are cold. Our turkeys would be cold if they were outside. Definitely. So we'll see today inside the barn how warm and comfortable it is inside the building for raising turkeys. And weather like this can also produce problems, you know, outdoors. And weather is always a factor in raising turkeys.
Absolutely. Well, I think that we will go ahead and transition inside. We have a team ready. They put on some gear so that we can go inside the turkey barn and show you. And once we get in there, they'll share with you what they have put on and why. The room where we have to go through to get into the barn has so-so cell phone service. So if we lose you for just a moment or two, just wait. We'll be right back. But we're hoping that's not going to happen. So
bear
Paul,
with us.
Let's head on inside and show all these wonderful folks the turkeys. So we're going to walk very carefully and help our camera person. As we go inside, looks like we have some first graders from Farmington and some first graders from LaPorte. I might say that wrong. Thanks for joining us. Oh, and Maura, an 8th grade agriculture class. We're excited to have you. So this is our team ready to head inside. Thanks for tuning in from Marathon, New York. So Paul's putting on his coveralls and his boots.
We are back at the Kvistad Turkey Farm near Wood Lake, Minnesota. My name is Sue Knott, and I work with the Minnesota Agriculture in the Classroom program with Paul Kvistad. And we have gone inside one of his finishing barns, and as you can tell, we're wearing coveralls and boots. So Paul, will you tell us why we need to wear these inside this barn?
Well, the coveralls and boots are just made to cover up our clothing that we wore outside the building. We want to protect the turkeys from any bacteria or viruses that we may have touched outside the building, and they're just to cover our clothing and our shoes up to keep the turkeys healthy.
Awesome. Okay, great. So tell us about this barn.
This barn is a finishing barn, which I call it. It's 76 feet wide by 416 feet long. Right now there's about 22,000 turkeys inside of this building, and I keep the turkeys in here for about 8 weeks.
So why do you raise the turkeys in a barn versus outside?
A few minutes ago when we were outside, it's cold and windy and rainy and snow outside. This keeps them safe and warm inside, and it's a great place for them to grow inside the building.
And as a turkey farmer, I bet you get to see these turkeys a lot. Can you tell us some unique behavior or what you notice about how they act inside here?
They live inside here, and they're eating and drinking all the time. And as we stand inside this building, they're kind of curious of what we're doing. So they want to come and take a look at us a little bit and check us out.
Okay, now you mentioned that they stay here for 8 weeks. And during that time, I'm sure they grow a lot. Now, sometimes we hear about people saying they grow fast because of steroids or hormones. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, there's no steroids or hormones ever given to turkeys. That's illegal. We just feed them feed that's made from corn and soybeans grown right here locally.
Excellent. And I've noticed there's some unique bedding on the bottom, on the floor of the barn. Do you want to tell us about that a little bit?
Yeah, the bedding on the floor is what we call litter. It's wood shavings that we haul in here and spread out, and it's on the floor for them to walk on and lay down on.
So really comfortable, keeps them healthy and comfortable.
Correct. Yep.
Right.
Keeps them healthy and comfortable inside the building.
And I know also to keep those turkeys comfortable and grow well and healthy, you feed and water them. So do you want to talk about what you feed them?
Yeah. Like I said earlier, our feed is made from a mixture of corn and soybeans, and that's made available to the turkeys all the time inside our buildings. From the time we get them on the building until they're finished, it's always available for them inside.
So should we take a look at some of those feeders and waterers?
We sure can.
Okay, let's do that.
Yeah. Right behind us here, we have our waters that the turkeys drink out of. The turkeys can walk up here anytime and take a drink right out of the water that is in this cup. And as they walk up and drink out of this cup, their head will bump this yellow pendulum that hangs down. And every time they take a drink out of here, fresh water will come inside of this water for them to drink more fresh water. And those waters are there's lines of waters throughout the whole building. There's 4 lines inside the building, as you can see all the way down the building. You can see some of the turkeys drinking out of them right now.
Let's get a closer look at one of the feeders.
Yeah,
over
if
here.
we step over this water line carefully, we'll get a close-up look at where the turkeys are eating. As you can see, a couple of these turkeys eating right now out of this feeder. The feed comes in from outside the building in the feed tanks that we were standing next to outside the building. We'll run inside of these feed pipes and drop down into this feed pan. As you can see, these feed pans are all full of feed, and as if you watch the turkeys as they move along here, they're eating right out of those feed pans.
Here's a close-up look, if you guys can get this. This is what the feed looks like. And Paul, maybe you want to talk about how much this costs. I imagine this is a big expense in raising turkeys.
Yes. The largest expense I have in raising turkeys is the feed cost. It represents about 60 to 75% of my total costs. A flock of turkeys like this, there's about 40,000 total turkeys in this flock, and they'll eat about 500 tons of feed in their lifetime.
Excellent. All right, Carrie has a question from one of our viewers.
We do. We have some questions from some second graders. They would like to know how old these turkeys are.
These turkeys in this barn right now are 6 weeks old, so they're about halfway grown. I'll keep these turkeys until they're 12 weeks old.
Welcome back. Thanks for your patience. It's a little rainy and cloudy out here near Wood Lake. so we don't get quite the strong signal that we were hoping for. But once again, we're at the Kvistad Turkey Farm, a family farm run by Paul and his sons and wife. And we are inside a finishing barn, which is about 22,000 turkeys. And it's cold outside, but it's warm in here. So we're going to talk about that in just a second, but we want to thank all of the classrooms and teachers and students who have logged in. We've gotten some great questions. We hope that you guys keep posting. And if you can't hear us or see us, or if there's some issue with the Facebook Live video, please let us know. We've already learned what turkeys eat and that they're exposed to water. Here there's about 22,000 in this barn that are 6 weeks old, and they stay in this barn until they're about 8 weeks. And then 12 weeks is when they get sent to a processing plant, so we can hopefully purchase them someday in the classroom or in the grocery store. So, Paul, do you want to tell us a little bit more, some background about this farm? I know you shared a little bit, but maybe some fun facts.
Yeah, well, we've raised turkeys on this farm continually for 46 years, and this is the farm that I grew up on as a kid. So I grew up working in the barns and working on this farm as my kids do now. So it was a great place to grow up, and it's a great place to make a living.
So what do you like best about being a turkey farm? What do you think are the advantages, the good things?
Well, I like the independence of being a farmer and owning my own business, the flexibility of it, and just living in rural in a rural community. I like where I live and our community around us, and I think it's a great place to raise a family, and it's a good way to make a living growing food for our country and for the world.
Awesome. Did we have a question, Carrie?
We do. We have a question from is it second graders?
Third graders.
Third graders, I'm sorry, from Cheryl, New York. They would like to know, what is the average size of a turkey? How much they weigh?
How much do we? The turkeys inside this building right now weigh about 3 or 4 pounds. But when they're fully grown, when I'm going to sell them, they're going to weigh about 14 pounds live weight. And at 14 pounds live weight, when they're sent to the processing plant and processed, that will equate to about a 10 or 11 pound whole bird that you would buy in the grocery store.
So maybe this is a good chance, Paul, you can tell us a little bit more about the turkeys. Are they boys and girls? Terminology, how fast they do grow, some fun facts about these turkeys you're growing.
Right. Inside this building, these turkeys are hens. Hens are the female turkeys. Toms are what you call the male turkeys. These are all hens, and they're all hatched on the same day. So when I get them on the farm, I get them the exact same day that they're hatched. And when we start them on the farm, we start them in a different building than this, one that's made for very small turkeys. And at that time, we grow them for 4 weeks in that first brooder barn before we move them into this building where they live for 8 weeks.
Excellent. So what are those baby turkeys called?
Baby turkeys are called a poult.
And we have all hens here, and then the boys are called toms.
Toms, yep, that is correct.
And we have another question.
We do. The question is, how long does it take for a turkey to hatch?
A turkey to hatch? It takes just about 1 month. I think it's 28 days for a turkey to hatch, the egg to hatch at the hatchery. We don't hatch them here on the farm. We buy all of our turkeys after they've hatched from a hatchery.
Another question.
So the second graders in Pleasant Valley, New York, they were hoping that you could show a baby turkey, but you just explained.
Yes, we don't have any baby turkeys on our farm right now. The next time we get baby turkeys will be December 10th. We're scheduled to get our next flock of turkeys on the farm.
So that's a good question. You know, Thanksgiving and Christmas are coming up, and most people probably eat a little bit more turkey during those times of the year. Are you busier now during this season, or are you raising turkeys all the time?
I'm not any busier now during Thanksgiving than I am year-round. We grow turkeys on a schedule year-round, and but at Thanksgiving time, it becomes the light more of talking about turkeys and that. But we raise the same amount of turkeys year-round.
And are most of your turkeys just sold as a whole bird, or do you have like turkey? Are they used for like turkey meats or turkey sandwiches or other turkey products?
The hens that we grow here on this farm will all be packaged as whole turkeys. Other farms from Minnesota and around the country will grow other sizes of turkeys, and toms or hens They might grow them larger. They might grow the turkeys larger, and other turkeys will be grown for other products that you would buy at the grocery store, like sliced meat or sandwich meat. But all these turkeys will be packaged as whole birds.
Excellent. So we have a question, and please keep posting your questions. Paul is an expert, as you can tell, so he's happy to answer all of them. But I think, Carrie, we have another one posted.
Yes, and we have St. Michael and Prior Lake have joined us, so that's exciting. Thanks for joining
Hi, St. Michael.
us. One person would like to know if there are any toms on the farm.
No, we don't have any toms on the farm. These are all hens in our barns, and that's what we buy.
Another question.
Yes, Tara would like to know: do the turkeys play? So how do they act, and how do they behave?
Play? I wouldn't say that they play, but you might see that they're active and moving around, and that's a sign of good health when the turkeys are moving and following me around the barn, or curious about what we're doing.
Sure, and maybe Alana, who's on our camera, wants to show a little bit, but they're kind of grouping around, and you can see they're kind of curious what we're doing, but also I noticed that there's lots of space, there's not every square inch is covered with turkeys. So Paul, maybe you want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, the space inside of the turkey barn is, it's measured for when the turkeys are fully grown, so that we have plenty of space for the turkeys to move around inside of this building, to eat and drink and sleep inside of this building. But no, they're not overcrowded. They have plenty of room to move around inside the building.
So let's walk a little bit and see if we can get a closer look at one of these turkeys. And maybe viewers, you've noticed they're all white. So maybe, Paul, you can talk a little bit about that breed and why they're white instead of colored or black like sometimes we see wild turkeys.
Right. They look different than wild turkeys, but many decades ago they bred all the turkeys to be white, and just as to look as more of a uniform product to sell in the grocery store. They bred them all to be white turkeys, and they don't much look like the bronze turkeys or the wild turkeys that you might see.
All right, we have another question, Carrie.
So again, our third graders from Sherrill, New York, have another question. I love that. They would like to know, what is the hardest part of being a turkey farmer?
The hardest part of being a turkey farmer? That's a good question. Maybe weather or problems related to growing. If we have a weather issue, a storm, and those type of things where we could lose power on the farm, and also diseases. Turkeys can get sick, and those are the things that I worry about from day to day. That I want to keep the turkeys as healthy as possible, keep them in good growing conditions. But the hardest part would be just to make sure that everything is running properly and that the turkeys are safe and healthy.
So are there other people, other careers involved in growing these turkeys? I think maybe you mentioned a veterinarian for health. Are other people that are involved in overcoming those challenges?
Right. There's many careers and jobs in the turkey industry. It's one of the biggest industries in our state. But yeah, I rely on veterinarians for health questions or problems that I may have. The people that make the feed and the feed delivery for our buildings, repairs and maintenance around the farm. I might need help from an electrician, a plumber, or other professionals on the farm.
Sure, and we're getting close to the end of our live stream, so if you have questions, put them in there quickly. We have one right now.
We have a lot of questions.
Okay,
so
great.
we may do a question time here. So we have some second graders from Amboy Central. They would like to know how much water the turkeys drink in a day. And along that same line, Wabasso Crop Science Fest wants to know how much feed the turkeys eat in a day. So.
Okay. Water, I don't know exactly how much these are drinking today, but it's thousands of gallons. I'll go through over 1 million gallons of water per year, raising 200,000 turkeys in a year. How much feed they eat? A flock like this will eat about 500 tons of feed in their 12 weeks. And an interesting fact about that is for every 2 pounds or just over 2 pounds of feed that the turkeys will eat, they'll grow about 1 pound in live weight.
So that's a pretty good conversion ratio.
Yeah, that's a pretty good conversion. Kind of like us at Thanksgiving and Christmas time, we tend to gain weight quickly. And
Excellent.
maybe that's a good way to.
Okay,
look at
another
it.
question.
One of our viewers would like to know, how long does it take for the turkey to be ready to go to market?
These turkeys are light hens. And light hens, I'm growing for 12 weeks, and at 12 weeks they'll weigh about 14 pounds live weight.
And then in the grocery store you'd purchase them, how much would they weigh then?
About a 10 or 11 pound frozen or fresh turkey. But other farms may grow turkeys longer and larger. Like tom turkeys, they might grow them 20 weeks long
Okay.
to grow them.
Do we have another question?
A tom turkey after 20 weeks would weigh about 45 pounds live weight. Be a very big turkey. Yeah,
Very big turkey. That'd take a long time in the oven. We've had a few more questions about why the turkeys are white. I think a few people had not caught back up with us yet. So if you could talk more about the breed again, why they're white.
Yes. Turkeys were bred to be white, and just to look more uniform and to be uniform, a more uniform product.
And I know that our friends at the Minnesota Turkey Growers Association shared this fun fact with us that it used to be that turkeys were a darker color, but those feathers left little marks on the skin of the turkey. So you go to the store and have these dark marks that were not bad, but they just didn't look as nice. So that's maybe another reason why all white birds are popular, because they just look all nice and clean when you buy them at the store.
Nice looking product.
Right. Okay, any additional questions?
Well,
We're about ready to wrap up, so...
Oh. From Buffalo Hector School.
They're right nearby. Buffalo Hector. Well,
hello. They would like to know how you cool the barns when it's the other kind of weather in the
Very
summer.
good question. Very good question. In the summertime when it's hot out, as you can see, the sides of the building, you can see light coming in. Those are curtains on the side, and those curtains can drop down, and we can let the air and wind flow right through this building. Also, the barn is equipped with fans inside and in the sidewalls of the building that can exhaust the warm air out of this building, so we always have a fresh flow of air through the building to cool the building in the summertime when it's hot.
Sure, and it seems like you do everything you can to make sure these turkeys are comfortable.
Yes, and everything that I do, I can control it with a computer controller in this building, so I can control what temperature it is, summer or winter, to keep it the most comfortable for them.
All right, one more question.
Okay, our last question comes from me.
Yes.
I would like to know, what is a typical day for you like on the turkey farm?
A typical day for me would be, I like to come into my buildings first thing in the morning. So I wake up, have my coffee, maybe get the kids off to school, and I'll do all of my turkey chores first. So I'll come in here, walk through these buildings, look at all the equipment inside of the building, look at the waters, feeders, make sure that everything is running properly. And all the while that I'm looking at that equipment, I'm checking the birds' health. Looking the way they're moving, the way they're acting, making sure that there isn't any developing problems with the health of the turkeys at that time. So I'm just making sure that everything is working properly and the turkeys are healthy each day. And I'll walk through each one of my buildings first thing in the morning, and then throughout the day multiple times.
Sure.
Always watching for health and to make sure that everything is working properly.
Excellent. Well, we're about ready to sign off. So we hope when you enjoy some Thanksgiving turkey in a couple days, you'll think of Paul Kvistad and his turkey farm, as well as our other turkey growers here in Minnesota. We are the #1 state in turkey production. I think we're really proud of that. But if you want more information, our friends at the Minnesota Turkey Growers have a website, minnesotaturkey.com. And Minnesota Agriculture in the Classroom, we have a great website that has other educational resources, and you can find more out about turkeys as well. It's mn.agclassroom.org. Thanks again, Paul, for giving us a field trip.